Hey, Sox fans, welcome back. Hot takes and heaters, the MLB centric portion of Future Sox, FutureSox.net. Subscribe to the Future Sox YouTube channel. We do this live on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock. Sometimes, we're talking about the end of a Sox game, and this one in Tampa wrapped up. So we've got kind of a post game to get to what the weekend was in St. Louis and a bunch of other garbage with this Sox team that's 20 games under 500. He's Danny Miller. I'm Nick Murawski. And hopefully you could jump in the comments, give us your Sox takes. It's rough. Danny, welcome, but always good to talk with you, buddy.
Yeah, man. Good to be here as usual. How's things going in your life, man? Besides, from being, a fan of quite possibly the worst baseball team we've ever witnessed.
I'm doing pretty good. I'm getting the golf clubs ready, Danny. I've been out to the driving range, looking to get maybe on the course, maybe next weekend. The weather isn't doing us any favors, I trying to let the course dry out a little bit here because we've been getting
Good
hit,
luck.
and I think, I know this week is going to be more rain, but that's what I'm kind of starting to turn my attention to. I do a little running. That's kind of like my go-to, but golf, man, I've been playing golf for a long time.
Yeah, right on. I'm also hoping that the rain clears up over the next few days. I personally will be in southwestern Michigan this
Hello,
coming
all
weekend. I'm
right.
going to be doing a little bit of racing out there with my race team, doing a little bit of endurance racing out at Gingerman Raceway as part of
Mm.
the 24 Hours of Lemons racing series. So we're going to get that 1996 Lincoln Mark 8 back out on the track, and it doesn't like wet conditions a whole lot, man. I'm going to tell you right now, 6 years ago, when I started doing this thing with this car, our very first race was at Audubon Country Club right here in Joliet, Illinois. Beautiful Joliet, Illinois. And it rained the whole weekend, and that car did a lot of spinning. So,
Yeah.
we spun that thing out. I had a good one right through the infield on infield grass, right in front of the grandstands, and it was like everything went silent as soon as I hit the grass, and I had a rooster tail of water behind me. All I could hear in the stands was, "Oh!" And there I'm going, red cheeked and
I
embarrassed. So
I went to
yeah,
college out in Joliet, Danny, and I did like I wouldn't even call it an internship. They were looking for help during one of the Speedway's events, and you got paid for the weekend to interview some drivers and bring back your notes. And that was a crazy tutorial, like the orientation of you got to wear these special suits, and it is. I mean, I've never been like on the grass like that close to a track, and the angle of the track, it was like a 45-degree angle. I was blown away. I don't watch a lot of racing, but it was just there in our backyard in Joliet, and the officials, the folks, were giving us this tutorial and saying, you got to be really careful because of like these invisible fires, and someone could catch on fire, and you'll see them kind of like moving around and shaking. You won't see anything. And that
that's
was
more
one
for the
weekend. That was one
alcohol
weekend.
cars, the
Yeah.
cars that run on
Yeah.
alcohol fuel. You won't see any of that where what I'm doing. These are beaters that we are
Okay.
basically racing for. On average, every weekend we do this is anywhere between 14 and 16 hours over the course of a weekend. So if you've ever seen anything about the 24-hour Le Mans, just to play on
Sure.
that,
Yeah.
Ford versus Ferrari, the new Gran Turismo movie, very kind of similar aspect to what they do at Le Mans out there, where you're changing drivers. You're basically gas and go, maybe a quick check of the car and then back out on the track. So drivers are, we'll run out of tank of gas about every 3 hours or so, and then switching the driver out, and it just keeps going like that all weekend long. So we're beating the crap out of an old car, and hence the name Lemons. So good times, crazy themes, lots of really crazy stuff going on out there. Just a great family of racing people. It's a community. And, if anybody wants to come out to South Haven and check us out, we'll be at Gingerman Raceway all weekend long.
Well, it's beautiful country. It's God's country out there, especially in the fall. If you're just jumping in here, we have decided to start talking racing, car racing. We're going to just kind of abandon the White Sox stuff. So
no, I'm kidding.
Anything at all. Drew had something before we got into the racing. I was talking about running, and he said, how's your glove? Can you play right? Yeah. Also some Ricky Bobby stuff, but could I play right field? I played a little outfield in the day. I think, there were, I don't know about you, Danny, but I know you pitched, and maybe as a lefty, maybe you didn't get out to right field. I don't know, but
actually the right field was my bread and butter in the outfield, man.
Yeah, you had a bit of an arm as a pitcher, and I could move a little bit, and so yeah, I played a little right field,
right field and first base. Those were my.
It sounds like a White Sox. That's right up the White Sox alley. First base, get out there to right field. Yeah.
But then again, neither does Andrew Vaughn. So
Vaughn, there's so many, man. So many. 8-28. Since the last time we talked, the Sox ended up getting swept by the Twins last week. They cannot figure the Twins out. They can't figure really anybody out. Sox are the only team in the AL Central under 500. So much for that forgiving division. Sox did take a series in St. Louis. Bryan Ramos called up. I think we're going to talk a lot about him in this episode. At least I want to get your thoughts on that. And Chris Getz already starting to talk trade deadline. Bob Nightingale dropping some hints about what the White Sox can do. It was good to see the Sox win 2 out of 3 in St. Louis. Again, just want to see consistent playing time from Ramos, but the start of this Tampa series not good as the Sox have lost both of those. The return of Mike Clevenger, that was on Monday. That went horribly wrong, and Brad Keller saw some action. He still doesn't have whatever magic they thought he was going to bring to this anemic team. But the offense is bad. I mean, it's just a rough thing to talk about, Danny. I mean, I was going back to 2018. So that was a 100-loss season, if I'm not mistaken. And here we go. Danny's firing one up. If you're listening to the audio already, we're 8 and change in, just about 9 minutes in, which is fine. It's about standard. So I went back to 2018, and that was a rough year, but we kind of expected that. So after 36 games in 2018, the Sox were 9-27. So around this, in 2019, which was a 90-something loss season, the Sox were 16-20 after 36 games. Ricky's boys, man, they didn't quit. I hate to say it, but I'd go back to those days. I just feel like, despite what you might hear, there isn't a plan. I think the wrong person is in charge. The wrong people are in charge in the front office. I don't want to say it's all doom and gloom. You don't think
Chris Getz can turn this thing around quicker than anybody else out there?
Not at all.
Is that what you're telling me?
And it's not all doom and gloom, because what FutureSox is all about is what's heading in the pipeline, what's coming up. And Double-A is very exciting right now. I mean, even from someone like a guy like Sergio Santos, Chuck Garfien had interviewed him. There's a lot of people hoping that Santos is thought of as maybe the next manager for the White Sox. And we are an MLB centric. We're talking about the White Sox, but it's really difficult when you have to look around and see, hey, it ain't here. Okay. It's not at the big league level. It's really, in my mind, this year is developmental. I don't care what Pedro says about, compromising wins and all that BS. Compromise wins. Go ahead, because I want to see guys develop who's going to be around next year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I've said it before. I'm going to continue to say it now because we're even seeing more of these guys start to do some things. But that 2022 draft class is looking absolutely outstanding. And like I said, we're starting to see even more of these guys that are part of that 2022 draft class really kind of take some steps forward. I think Mike Shirley has done a great job at recognizing talent, which maybe his predecessors had not been real good at. And there's always a lot of talk about the White Sox farm system and being able to develop players. And my biggest issue with people saying the White Sox have never been able to develop in their farm system is I don't really know if it's a matter of being able to develop or being able to recognize the talent to be developed. I think they have gotten some guys that were a little bit raw and never were going to perform higher than what they'd already performed at. And I think now we're getting some guys that are maybe a little bit more rounded baseball players. The IQ is a little bit better. And I know that's a big word around a lot this year with Pedro. But in the farm system, I do believe that these guys are just a better crop than we've seen in quite a long time. And I think that 2022 draft can be one of those ones that is the best in at least my lifetime for the White Sox.
Wow.
There were some good ones back, like early 2000, like 99, 2000 in that area where there were some guys that were really
late 80s, Danny,
yeah.
where we had guys like, obviously Ventura and Thomas and Alex Fernandez. I think he was a hometown guy. And so, that's a big statement. That's a big statement coming from you. I definitely look to you and Ian and James during these trying times at the major league level. A guy that you've probably seen a lot of over the years. We discussed at the beginning of the season, Bryan Ramos, a guy that didn't even spend any time in AAA. And Danny Mendick having some back issues, and he gets the call up. Was a defensive replacement in his first game, then got the start, and has been playing. And I've been happy with what I've seen. He hit one on the screws today. I think he had a hit already in the game, and he hit one just on the screws. A really nice play was made up the middle. But thoughts on, thoughts on Ramos in general, Danny, on what does it mean to just skip over AAA? What kind of look do you want him to get? What should he get? And I guess just generally, like, how should we look maybe from somebody that's been seeing Ramos for a while? How should we gauge this guy if, with his first kind of call up here in a really tough season for the Sox?
Oh, it's honestly, it's a great question. And it's one of those questions that's going to kind of lead me down a couple of different paths here real quickly. And I'll try not to draw this out too much. But the thing with Bryan Ramos is, and you'll see a lot of it on the social medias, whatever is your brand of choice. But a lot of folks are saying, calling this guy up straight from AA is a mistake. The White Sox have been known to call guys up too early and damage them by doing so. And the thing with Ramos is he was the last of the remaining infielders on the 40-man, right? And there's a good reason for that. There's a handful of guys in Charlotte that are either too young and are not ready, but are, like guys like Colson Montgomery, who you're not going to bring up just quite yet. There's a reason for Bryan Ramos being where he was. And the unfortunate case here is they're using option years on some of these young players. And in Bryan Ramos's case, he didn't see any AAA time. But I don't think it's a waste per se, because he's the type of player that kind of has excelled at every class that he's been part of. He often, just like a lot of our other guys, young players, Lenine Sosa being one of them that we've seen in the past, take a little bit of time to adjust when they make the move up. But everything that I've seen from Bryan Ramos this season is that once he got things clicking in AA, because he had a really slow start. And that's the other thing that a lot of people will point out right now is, his batting average was horrible. His walkout to strike ratio was terrible. His power numbers were
rough slash line. It was a rough slash line.
He just didn't have anything going on. But the 10 to 12 games, about a 2-week period before they called him up, he was really hot. And that's just who he is. He's a guy, once he makes an adjustment, finds a way, gets hot, and stays hot for a while. The biggest problem that I have with him coming up right now is he's probably not going to stay up very long. As soon as, Danny Mendick gets healthy, they're probably going to send him back down. The other thing we're going to see is if Yoan Moncada is able to go, like they're saying he's going to be, sooner rather than later, as originally predicted, they're going to try to get Yoan Moncada as much playing time as possible because they're going to have to try to flip him if they can get any kind of value whatsoever out of him out of the deadline. So Bryan Ramos' trip to the major leagues right now is probably going to be one that's fairly short-lived, but it's really great to see him doing some nice things.
Yeah, I want to see the playing time. I want to see what he can give. I mean, make some mistakes defensively. Struggle at the plate a little bit. I'm glad that he's not really looking over a match. I think maybe Drew might have pointed it out in the chat. So his AA slash line through 98 plate appearances before the call up was 182, 265, 307. Again, 98 plate appearances. But in 2023, over 339 plate appearances in AA, his slash line 272, 369, 457. So I think to your point, he was just starting to kind of come around. He was starting to get hot a little bit there, and I've liked what I've seen, and I'm glad he's not getting like kind of the typical Pedro. Cold shoulder, I'm just not going to play you. You might pinch run. You're just going to sit and learn how this is done, and maybe it's Gatz or somebody above Pedro, I hope, that's saying we're bringing him up and you're going to play him. I don't know if you've noticed what's going on with this team, but we want to see what we have because of the deadline, because of, when we head into the off season, because I don't believe Moncada will be wearing a White Sox uniform, next year. Right. So what do we have there in Ramos?
Yeah. And, you mentioned his 2023 numbers in the 300 plus plate appearances. And I'll ask you this, when's the last time you've seen a White Sox third baseman have a sustained over 800 OPS for a long time? Yoan Moncada has done it in parts of his career, but can never seem to stay healthy enough or hot enough to maintain that. I think Bryan Ramos is most definitely the third baseman of the future for the White Sox. And like you say, with Moncada's probably not going to be part of this team by the end of the season if the White Sox can do whatever it is they have to do to deal him for whatever they can get, to be honest with you at this point.
That's a lot of money, though. There's a lot of money out there that someone's going to have to take, right?
Well, and that's the thing. Yoan Moncada you might be able to just package him up. You might be able to just cut ties with this guy. Honestly,
that's crazy to think about.
I know it's not something that Jerry has a penchant for. If I'm paying you, you're going to be part of, at the very least, my bench because you're going to be here because you're on my payroll. But the unfortunate fact is his time here isn't long. Most of these guys that are on this team right now are not going to be part of this White Sox team when they are ready to compete. And I think the move and the moves that we're seeing now, but the right move is to continue doing things the way they're doing them right now, is to see what we have when we are ready to compete again. And it's been brought up on this show and a few other shows, a part of, FutureSox, that if you are looking at the White Sox payroll for next year, and if you look at the names that Bob Nightingale ran down the other day talking about who's going to be gone and traded at the deadline, you're looking at about a $40 million, $41 million payroll next year before arbitration. And I've seen the arbitration numbers estimated at about $20 million or so for the guys that are on rookie deals and ready to make a few extra dollars. So roughly $61 million on the payroll next year. There's an opportunity to go ahead and fill some holes with some of our young guys that are making their way up now. And the rest can be filled in with some of that available money. And you can still keep the payroll in a very affordable range for Jerry.
Those are wonderful things. I mean, those can kind of give you some hope. Here we are, we're not even at Memorial Day, and it's just we're talking about the deadline and beyond and the off season. And we've been down this road before. I remember listening to we're talking like, I think I was just on the verge of starting Good Guys Talk Back. So this was like the summer of 2018. And I was listening to a Chuck podcast where they were going down the big board of free agents, just like, where are we going to spend our money? Look at all these names. Look at how this could play out. Look what's on the books for the Sox. Look what's coming off, all that stuff. So we've done this before, and it didn't go the way we wanted it to, not even close. Obviously, there were a lot of things that went wrong, and just the money wasn't properly spent. So yeah, maybe it does get spent this time. Maybe Jerry's like, oh, well, maybe I should try to put a winning product if I'm going to try to get money for this big stadium of mine in the South Loop. I don't know. And as I even say that, I'm laughing because I know that's probably not going to happen. But I wonder, Danny, if the Sox will use that mentality of, we have so many young guys that we're interested in. Well, why should we go out and spend? Like we've got guys that we want to see, and we'll let them, take on these positions like the Colson Montgomerys, and so we're not going to go out and spend. Let's see what we have with these young guys for a little while.
I think that's very possible. And Clutch mentions in the chat that with the money coming off the books and a new broadcast deal being up in the air, attendance is in the gutters. Where does the money for next season come from? Well, number one, I think that new broadcast deal is pretty much a done deal. And it's supposed to bring in, and of course, it's, again, a company that Jerry has quite a bit of stock in. So that's going to be helpful for him and the White Sox. So I don't think that's an issue. The other thing about attendance is it's not the, I know folks will tell you, well, attendance being in the, especially owners will try to tell you that, oh, well, attendance is down, so I can't spend money. I don't believe that. There's actually been some new developments about pushes to be made for MLB to open its books. There are some things going on within our government that might force baseball and all other major sports to open their books completely. And I can't wait for that day to happen, because it's my belief that the attendance numbers and the concession sales and all these things are not as big of a drop in the bucket as owners would have you believe.
Mm-hmm.
The tax breaks that they get off, which is exactly where this is coming from, by the way. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, maybe I should elaborate a little bit. The IRS has now gotten involved in, I won't say it's the exemption MLB, but they have gotten involved in the fact that there's that double amortization clause that Bill Veeck actually had a hand in helping Major League Baseball.
Bill Veeck.
Bill Veeck, as what John would say. But Bill Veeck had a hand in kind of making this double amortization thing. And, it's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo, but basically it keeps sports clubs from having to pay double taxes on depreciating assets. So stadiums and players included are considered to be depreciating assets. But now the IRS is questioning whether or not these things are true and whether or not they should be getting the brakes on them. And they are looking to make MLB teams, especially,
I saw something their books about that. Yeah,
and I think we're going to see some things here in the next few years that might open up some eyes. But anyways, I'm going down.
I've heard for a while, the understanding of that ticket sales, that's not, that's not where it's coming from. It's the TV deals, it's the advertising, it's concessions and tickets and all that, and that's important.
It's definitely not nothing.
But it's not as big as we think it. When the old saying of like, hey, we pay your salary, because we're ticket holders or we're going to games. That's not accurate. Of course, there's bigger money made in other ways. And um, yeah, I look,
Well, just
I
to put
just
some things in a perspective here, let's just look at it this way. You can go back and look at the one thing that is public information is revenue sharing and what each ball club gets
yeah,
from revenue
sure.
sharing every year. And I can tell you this right now, the White Sox have gotten more money in revenue sharing than their payroll has ever been. They get more money every year. It's always higher than what their payroll is. So revenue sharing alone pays for the team on the field. Now, if you want to talk about everything else that costs to run a stadium, you've got your operating costs, you've got your security, you've got,
Security.
yeah,
They haven't been using that allocated
they got
money has
it.
not been
You
used
have to
well.
have security in the ballpark. The machines at the entrance are one thing, but you got to have guards in there to keep the guns out.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. No. I mean, there's a ton of operating costs, but again, you know, all of these things you're talking about with a team that doesn't have to pay taxes unless they go over a certain amount of percentage or a certain percentage of a certain number of
Yeah, I mean
people in
that's the
attendance.
joke. I mean that's what was written
Uh,
into the new Comiskey deal with
all
the
I'm saying
Illinois
is I
sports whatever.
I can't be convinced that this team has ever operated in the negative. Ever. I can't convince that they've ever been just barely break even.
Yeah.
He's got way too many things working for him.
Yeah. So talking about that new place to maybe watch the Sox, Standard
Sorry.
Media Group, in partnership with the Hawks, the Bulls, the Sox, will be the new TV broadcast home for all three teams in October. The Athletic was talking about it this past week. I think it was in the Sun Times as well. The media group is expected to make the network, which is unnamed, available across multiple platforms, including over the air and carriage agreements with cable and streaming providers. So, Cubs obviously went to Marquee a couple years ago. The Sox are not new to this type of stuff, this pay to play or pay to watch. I mean, I talked about it on Good Guys Talk Back with Pat on Sunday night, and it really bears another comment. This book, Chili Dog MVP, that came out a few years ago. It's a fabulous read. It kind of centers on Dick Allen and the 1972 Chicago White Sox season. The lore of Dick Allen and how great he was and that team and how kind of he kept the Chicago White Sox relevant and around. And there was talk of maybe Seattle, maybe Milwaukee that the Sox were going to move to. Well, in this book, they really they go over the Sox were a dominant force in Chicago. We think of in our lifetime, well, second fiddle in the second city. That wasn't the case years ago, especially 50s, 60s. And, the Sox were, of the two teams, Cubs and Sox, the first to decide to go to cable, pay to watch your team, where, of course, the Cubs stayed on WGN. Harry Carey, broadcasting for the White Sox for many years before going to the North Side, he especially was not happy with that. He wanted to be on a station like WGN. He knew
Yeah, what
that
was that? Sports something or other? What was it called?
Sports Vision, Sport
Yeah.
Channel. I mean, so they lost a lot of fans. The Sox did by going to cable, by having this product. Now you have to pay for it, which cable was so new back then in that time area. So, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to cost. Like I've got YouTube TV. Are they going to automatically, is this going to be put into my, existing
I hope
package?
so, because that's
Is
the
this,
same thing I use right now.
is this something that they're going to say, well, for $15 more a month, or maybe because it's three teams, maybe it's more, maybe
Yeah,
it's,
I really hope not.
maybe it's 20
I hope
bucks
not.
a month and you get your Hawks, your Bulls, and the Sox. I mean, not a good time to start asking for money. Now, I know the Hawks, depending on who you ask, on the up and up, the Bulls seem to always will be staying the Bulls, and the Sox we have no idea. But it's just it's an interesting time to be doing this.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, if you look at just everything that's going on in the background, you've got that TV deal. That's, maybe it's not 100% completely solidified, but it sounds like it's pretty much a done deal. Now we're looking at stadium asks and all this money, all these things that are happening that seem to be taking more and more money out of fans' pockets. All the while, we are looking at the worst team, possibly by the end of the season, maybe the worst team ever to play baseball, not just here in Chicago, but ever. And you want to continually ask for, and it's not just Sox fans that are going to have to pay for this stadium if they get the tax money to be able to do so, even if it is just for infrastructure in the neighborhood to improve the area. I would say there's probably a lot of folks in Illinois that don't live in the Chicagoland area that are not happy about that. But the reality is we don't have a team to watch.
Yeah.
We're watching garbage.
It is just anemic. It's directionless. I don't have a good handle on where the plan is. It's been absolutely vague. Getz, again, just as a week and a half ago, finally started coming around and talking about how this was going to take some time. This wasn't going to be a quick fix. The complete opposite of what he started his tenure with back in August. He spoke to the Sun-Times, Chris Getz did, this past weekend, and this is kind of what his message is here. It's similar to the message from last fall and all off season. We will be open-minded on anything to further set us up for success, Getz told the Sun-Times in relation to the trade deadline. Our farm system continues to move toward the top of the majors, and it's vital for the long-term health of the organization to look for ways to add to it. I've definitely heard that before. That was more from Hahn. But where do you,
circa 2017?
Yeah, I've seen the Sox farm system, ranked in all different kinds of places. Jim Bowden of The Athletic went through every team just a few days ago and wrote reasons to be optimistic, reasons to be pessimistic. Absolutely hilarious. He focused on food for everything that was supposed to be optimistic for the White Sox. He didn't mention about one player in his blurb. It was all about the food options at Sox Park, and pessimistic, variety of reasons. But he said Sox system in the bottom third. It's a bottom third farm system. What are your thoughts on that?
It sounds to me like he hasn't really been paying attention. That's really honestly all it is, because now I think what you have been seeing here with FutureSox and, obviously with White Sox Daily beforehand, Ian's just, he's the hardest working guy in White Sox Twitter.
100%.
What he puts out there and what he's done over the last, 4 or 5 years here shows you that there is more than meets the eye with this farm system. There's more to be desired than a lot of outlets are willing to talk about and print. And we're learning now, and we're even seeing more of it in the broadcast. Like tonight, we saw Chuck Garfien is in Ozzy are doing more of these, on the farm breakdowns this year than you've ever seen before. Merkin's writing more articles on the farm
system.
They
know, they get it.
They're quote tweeting FutureSox's video clips that Ian works so hard on every single day. And more and more people are kind of taking notice. When you see Chuck Garfien say, this guy Duke Ellis is the best base stealer in the system, he might be the best base stealer in minor league baseball right now, and very possibly when he makes his way up, will be the best base stealer at the MLB level across the board, not just for the White Sox. When you see things like Jacob Burke gunning guys down at the plate like they showed tonight, you're seeing the Bryan Ramos videos before he comes up. You're seeing, you could go on with any of the pitching staff. Jonathan Cannon wasn't talked about much at all before this season, and now the whole world is talking about him. I'm not sorry, not Jonathan Cannon, Mason Adams. Jonathan Cannon actually wasn't talked about enough either, to be completely honest with you, even though he's now made his major league debut. But the Sox have got a system full of guys that people are just now starting to find out about. And I think it's a great thing. And I honestly think that Bowden just hadn't had a chance to see any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've been told, and it's not like I needed to actually be told, but some of the things that I've read over the years, but it has been kind of explained to me that he really doesn't have his finger on the pulse of what's happening that you might anticipate or expect from a national writer. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that as I believe, and I trust you as I trust Ian and James. And if you were to buy stock in just a content creator, I think you'd buy stock in FutureSox. I would buy futures for Ian Eskridge. Absolutely.
Again, hardest working man in White Sox Twitter, hands down. Nobody does more than that guy. He deserves every bit of recognition that you could possibly give him. And to be honest with you, if I had $1 million in the bank, I'd put this guy on my payroll.
It would be fun if we had Sox. I don't know if you would, whatever, but White Sox podcasts, and there's so many of them. And we did like awards, and it was just like everybody that's a content creator is involved in the voting process. Like we're kind of, because we're all in it. But I guess you should open it up to everybody because so many people are so wonderful and gracious with, jumping in and consuming and passing things along, and they're affected by everything. But I would put, everything that Ian has done, I'd put it up there. It's award worthy, is what I'm trying to say. And this is a great time to be connected to FutureSox. And again, we want to keep our eyes on the product, the major league product, but it's really tough. That. I mean, if you're listening and watching, you get it. You've gotten it for a long time. It is confusing. It's frustrating, and you have to find those like Corey Lee. I've been excited about Corey Lee. He's getting more playing time. I like what I'm seeing from him. It's not like wow. I'm going to tune in just for Corey Lee, but like those are little things, little silver linings that you got to just appreciate.
Can I? I'm sorry, I don't mean to change the subject real quick, but I have to address this comment.
Sure.
In the chat, Drew Boggs,
Missy,
which if you're not familiar with Missy / Messy Carol on Twitter, she is a content creating machine as well. Shy Sox Mike, again, throws a lot of content out there. I don't know much of it he creates on his own because he's no offense, Mike, but you like to take other people's stuff a lot.
Oh, Danny.
Just going to throw it out there like, hey, well, you know what? He's got a lot of his own thoughts too, which I'll give him. He's a heck of a writer. He can definitely put together a great blog. But
let's just go down the line. Let's talk about all the content creators. And
I think Ian, it's also yeah, I gotcha, Drew. I'm sorry.
I should have corrected you. I knew that. It's my fault.
Drew. Oh, I'm sorry, Drew Boggs. My bad. So I didn't, and I apologize. I should have known that actually. Anywho, if you're gonna put the three of them up against each other, you're gonna end up with. I mean, Missy is knowledgeable, but she's looking to have more fun. Ian likes to have a little bit of fun, but he's really all just about digging into White Sox content.
It's business.
And Mike is going to put something out there that's going to get him the most likes and retweets. So it depends on what your strategy for picking a winner is. Three very different content creators, all with a lot of great content out there. So I'll just say, just depends on what you're looking for.
And people say that there's no White Sox fans out there. I mean, there are tons of White Sox fans. It's just,
we're here.
We're here. We're absolutely here.
We're grinding it out.
No question about it. Speaking of grinding it out, Garrett Crochet, he threw this past weekend in St. Louis. Not a bad outing at all. I liked his outing. He's already at 40-something innings through 8 starts. His high mark, 2021, I think he threw like 54 innings. a total of 75, 76 innings in the last 3 years. Pedro Grifol, the fearless leader, Pedro Grifol, the obsessed one, talked about recently. There's a good chance he's going to be going to the bullpen because we need to limit innings, and if he keeps up a pretty impressive pace for, again, this first year taking the hill, towing the rubber, being a starter. This is a hypothetical. I'm just throwing it out there. If somebody offers the Sox a really nice package for Garrett Crochet, do you say goodbye to Garrett Crochet?
Me personally, I'm
Yeah.
hanging on to him. It's got to be a blow me out of the water type of deal to even get me to think about it. But we're talking about, again, White Sox don't like to spend on pitching. They don't like to give long pitching contracts. This is a guy that's under team control for, quite a few years here after this season. And really the only pitcher actively on this team that seems like he's going to be able to do anything. Again, I said it earlier where we do have some young pitching coming up through the farms right now, but we just don't know what we have in them until they get up here. I'm really looking forward to seeing a lot of these guys come up and make their way up. But, Garrett's here. I just don't see any way that you can get rid of him. You're going to need somebody to anchor this rotation for a while. And if you're not going to go out and spend a ton or give somebody a big contract, it's going to have to be Garrett Crochet.
Nightingale, as you mentioned earlier in the episode, talked about how all these players that potentially, could be dealt. Kopech's name was in there, Fetty and Clevenger, which, I mean, he threw on
after
Monday.
That start yesterday.
I mean, again, shaking the rust off, perhaps, or just completely horrible, no good, bad, and should have never been brought back.
And then there's the other question of, does anybody else want to take on his issues?
Exactly. So whether it's issues or whether it's just actual play, like who on this roster right now are you saying, wow, like this guy's really making a case. Like we're going to be able to get something for this guy. Are teams lining up? Again, it's early for the deadline, I guess, but folks are already scouting out and looking at potential help. Here we are in early-ish May. Kopech? I mean, I'm sorry, but I have not been really impressed. He can dial it up to triple digits. He could pump those fastballs, and he's got some breaking stuff, some secondary stuff that can be dangerous, but everything's with a question mark. I don't think he has any idea. His control is all over the place. I don't see him being a coveted guy right now at the deadline. It'd be great. I would love for some of these individuals to start putting together some really nice.
Are you a I told you so kind of guy, Nick?
I can be if it favors an argument of mine.
Well, I mean, was it basically us, you and I, that had these thoughts about Kopech before the season started?
Sure. Yeah. I just look, the control thing is a problem whether you're a starter or whether you're out of the bullpen, whether you have a clean inning or whether you are in a jam, whether your team is, holding on to a 1-run lead or, trying to keep a game tied and claw back. Like, I just felt like there were limitations on when you could use Michael Kopech and be confident, because control was the biggest issue. And I haven't seen anything that's changed my mind.
Nor have I. He does have moments where he looks lights out, but there's a level of inconsistency there that scares the crap out of me. If we're going to talk about this guy being a closer, the inconsistencies in his release point, to me, makes it feel like it's a lot of it might be in his head. And you hope that over time, maybe that clears up. And who knows, maybe it does before the deadline comes around. And if he starts to impress, in really any role in the bullpen, whether it be a setup man or a middle reliever or a closer. You always hope for the closer because that's what's going to get the White Sox the most return. But, maybe he does figure out a more repeatable delivery, or a more repeatable release point on that fastball, because his fastball really is the only thing he's got working for him most of the time. And even that, the control, the spotting the pitches aren't great.
Yeah.
What kind of return do you expect to get for this guy? You might have to package a couple of these guys to get anything in return.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, this team could look very different come August 1st, August 2nd, whenever the dust settles. But because there are so many guys on 1-year deals and Sox are going nowhere, and there are teams that always need, extra pitching, your bullpen, another starter, a bat. But again, nobody is killing it right now, where I'm saying like, oh, well, enjoy him. That could change. Absolutely. I wonder, like with Clevenger, if they brought Clevenger back thinking, well, he was our best pitcher last year and he seems to be in shape. He seems to be, throwing well in the offseason. We're going to bring him in just so we can flip him. Like that was the plan. Like, we don't really expect this to be a long situation. We're just, going to try to make something out of this. Maybe that was the case for Brad Keller. I don't know. I'm trying to give the Sox maybe excuses, not that it even justifies it, but go ahead.
The thing about Clevenger is they signed him so late that any one of 29 other teams could have taken a chance on him. Yeah. So if that's the case, if you're thinking, well, we sign him and flip him,
but to take a chance on what the Sox want to do, though,
you're really hoping that you get the best out of him in order to even make him look okay to somebody. Because to me, the fact that he was the Sox best pitcher last year, and he wasn't terrible. Was he awesome? No, but he wasn't bad. He could be
best on a 101 loss team, so
he could be a middle or bottom of rotation guy for a lot of teams, but the Sox bringing him back are hoping that they get just as much out of him last year as they did this year in order to get something for him at the deadline, because with his issues, his off-field issues, you're never going to get full value in return.
Right.
Because you've got to be able to sell him to another team. And now we're not even talking about 29 other teams at the deadline. We're talking about teams looking to push for contention at the end of the season. So now you can pretty much cut half the league out right off the bat. So now you're trying to sell him to half the league and make people forget about his off-field issues. I think that's a difficult sell.
Yeah, I'm trying to play devil's advocate, maybe trying to make some sort of argument that probably isn't even there. I don't get it. I didn't understand it. In your mind, who is Clevenger and Keller? Like, who are they stopping from the farm system that we could have maybe been seeing right now? Is there anybody that, hey, why Clevenger and Keller? Like, these other guys could have been getting some time.
No, in the system, well, I would rather see the young arms that we have in the system stay kind of where they are, get the innings, move. The only two guys in the system that I would even want to see at this point in the season are two that we already seen, in Nick Nastrini and Jonathan Cannon. And I think we probably will see them sooner rather than later here coming up, because obviously the Brad Keller experiment is not working very well. Clevenger, unless he cleans it up, isn't going to be very long. And again, like you said, it could be the rust. It could be, he just didn't get a spring training. It's early, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Cannon and Nastrini will be back at some point. I just feel like there were other arms on the free agent market that could have been had for close to the same amount of money that they just didn't do. I think they just took Clevenger basically out of the comfort that they had with him being with them last year. And the Sox are trying to sell it as, well, we know who he is because we did have him for the entirety of the last season. And he went and saw a counselor to help him, past his issues. And, they tried to sell this whole thing of he's a changed man or things weren't as bad as they seemed or whatever the case may be. Keller was just another one of those guys who was like, he's a Royals retread that they thought, well, we can get him cheap. There are people in the organization that have known him and worked with him already, and we're going to give him a shot. I would have liked to see them go after a couple other guys in free agency, but that's just me.
Johnny Cueto was out there. Johnny Cueto still wants to pitch. He was, I think, still working out, and I don't know what you were going to get from Johnny Cueto, but in a year like 2024 that we knew was going to be rough, I would have absolutely welcomed Johnny Cueto back. He was fun to watch. And if you're looking at somebody just eat innings, that's fine by me.
His delivery is just it makes me giggle at times when he does the different, the quick pitch.
Oh, yeah.
The slide step. He does that full turnaround. If anything, he's entertaining. Whether or not, and we all know this White Sox team isn't going to win a whole lot of games this year. So why not at least bring us something that's entertaining? And you never know. If he pitches halfway decent, you might actually be able to get something for him at the deadline.
Teams, especially executives, they will look around and they will say, wow, we did not expect we were going to be in this race. There might be teams in our very own division in the AL Central that are saying, whoa, wow, we did not expect that we were going to be trying to win this division. And then once we get in, we get in. And you don't know. Teams get desperate. Teams get crazy, either trying to stop another team from getting somebody. There was a deal years ago. I think I've got this right, where some team gobbled up Jose Canseco at the deadline just basically to stop another team in their division. I don't know if it was the Yankees and Boston. It was those two teams I'm thinking of. But I don't think Canseco even played. Like, once he was gobbled up at the deadline, it was just to prevent a rival team from getting that bat, and adding it to their lineup down the stretch. So teams get goofy. There's strange things that happen. I'm trying to think about it. Someone said in the chat, Tommy Pham. Right now, Tommy Pham is hitting the ball well. He's a guy that, if he keeps hitting, he'll be flipped. He'll be gone at the deadline.
Yeah, agreed. I hope that Tommy Pham coming in here, I think there is some truth to the Tommy Pham effect that we've all been hearing about since he's been, brought into the organization. He is the type of guy that's going to hold guys accountable. He's going to be the good clubhouse presence in the fact that he might not be the nicest guy in there, but he's the guy that's going to get in your face if you're being a bum. And I think that's part of what's been missing from this White Sox team for a while. But he's going to do it in a way that he's going to make you want to go out and win. He's going to make you want to go out and perform. And he's going to hold you accountable if you don't. And I hope that he can instill that kind of mentality in a lot of these guys before the deadline, because I do think he goes somewhere else. I think he is one of the guys that Nightingale mentioned that, again, he is older. He's been around. He's been on a lot of different teams. But he is a guy who, with his attitude and his never-ending willingness to go out and play with all the heart in the world, is the kind of guy that's going to help boost a contender. You do look at it. He did it last season. He played well in the postseason, got himself to.
So did Robbie Grossman with
to
the
a World
Rangers.
Series.
Yeah,
right, absolutely. Both of those guys, I think, are guys that you might be able to flip Robbie Grossman just for the simple fact that he has some postseason experience and he is considered a good clubhouse guy. I just don't know how much you're going to get for him.
If you were struggling to recognize players on this White Sox team now, just wait till August 1st or August 2nd. August and September, you want to talk about some tough watching. We're not even there yet. This isn't even tough watching yet.
It might be fun, though, because this is now. So? Well, now you're going to get a lot of White Sox fans are going to get the opportunity, instead of just watching little video clips here at FutureSox on Twitter or on YouTube, you're going to get an opportunity to see a lot of these young guys that you've been watching these clips of for the last couple of years play right in front of your face on your TV every night. Or if you decide to go to a ball game, you're going to be able to see him in person. Part of that is exciting. And you know what? I'm going to say this right here and now, and I'll probably repeat myself 100 times before the season's over this year. Don't be so hard on these guys. This is not, these are guys that are still coming up and they're still developing. And it's been said many times before that development does not stop at the major league level.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, you're going to see some of your biggest developments happen at the major league level. So, don't be so hard on them. The future's coming, and there are some bright spots. So,
speaking of being really difficult on people, as we kind of say goodbyes in a little bit, as I can't believe we're approaching the 1 hour mark, Danny. We've been talking about a team that's 20 games under in an organization.
And before we came on, we're like, do we even want to do this show?
How do we do
Full disclosure, guys, this is a grind, and we're only doing this once a week. So hats off to the podcasts out there.
Oh, and hats off to everybody in the chat. I mean, it's been a great chat. Some wonderful stuff going on, and I really appreciate just the consistent chat too. So John Schriffen, we kind of teased it earlier. I don't want to. I don't personally need to spend a ton of time on it, but if you're doing fan centric stuff, and I got to defend him because he was just getting absolutely beat down by Matt Spiegel of 670 The Score. I can't stand The Score. I can't stand Spiegel, and Spiegel going just
his partner Danny Parkins isn't great either.
Oh, just brutal. I can't stand him. And they're going after Schriffen because John Schriffen mispronounced Bill Veeck's name and said Bill Veeck. Now, Bill Veeck gave the keys to Jerry Reinsdorf. Bill Veeck was the owner of the White Sox for a couple of years. There's a book, that helps with the pronunciation. Veeck is in rec. Bill Veeck, put names on the back of jerseys way back when. Bill Veeck brought the exploding scoreboard. There's a lot of different lore, throughout history with Bill Veeck. I found that is absolutely low-hanging fruit that Matt Spiegel decided to take and just run with and just and make these excuses of well, there's all these other things that he's doing. And then this is just, you should just be grinding your teeth as a Sox fan. If Reinsdorf, if management, if owners, if executives thought it was going to be important for John Schriffen to know all these different names, you got to pronounce these guys right. You have got to say these guys right on air. And they needed that to be done. In his orientation, he would have been talked to. He would have been explained. He would have been no questions. These have to be, and he would have little index cards. He would have a little list, by his microphone, phonetically spelled out. So he knew he never missed it because this was told to him. It doesn't matter to me. It does not matter to me as a fan. There are bigger things going on with this White Sox organization and team. Why focus on it? Because it gets you clicks. It gets us talking about it. It gets everybody up in an uproar. Oh, who is this Spiegel guy? I got to watch this clip. Wait, and I get it. There are fans that are saying, how can you pronounce Veeck? Schriffen didn't grow up a Sox fan. He didn't grow up
anywhere near Chicago.
This isn't Benintendi or Hawk, who was around for 80 years. This is a different situation. Man, lay off this guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah. My thing on John, he's had some cringe moments, but he's also, again, he's doing a broadcast on a near daily basis for a team that is putrid. And he's learning on the fly. He wasn't even announced until, it was quite, we were getting way too close to the season for him to even be announced. It should have been, the process should have been done long before. As soon as you knew Benetti was gone, you should have had 5 guys ready to ring up and start immediately. Ian says pronunciations are a bugaboo for him, but John should be given time to develop a little bit. It's not his fault. The White Sox offered him a job. That's his dream job. No, and then, you know what? I can't disagree. But the pronunciation thing, if we look at some of the best announcers in baseball over history, people talk about how good Harry Carey was. He couldn't get anybody's name right. He couldn't get the players on the field on his own team right half the time. You know, I mean, before we go off, there's a lot of announcers that, and this is his first time ever doing MLB baseball. It's not like we took him from the East Coast, Boston area, and he was doing anything else. He was bouncing around from basketball, the football, the baseball, everything else, and he finally found himself a home. Give him a little bit of time to adjust, is all I'm saying. And if you don't like listening to him, mute the damn game and put on some music in the background or whatever. I don't care. Or wait for Steve Stone to talk before you start listening. But he's got some growing pains to go through.
I mean, 120 plus years of history that you're going to have to try to get caught up to speed on. And really, I think, take in what has happened with this organization over the last 6-7 years, how the rebuild failed, where Sox anger.
Well, that's the other thing.
It's like that. I think that was.
There's so many other things to be malcontented about.
Get caught up to speed on this, and he's going to be fine. He's going to it's going to take some time for him, but to go at it like that, I'm sorry, I have to defend him. That was just wrong. That was lazy on Spiegel and the score.
No doubt, no argument here. And you know what? If he decides that he took too much crap over the South Side stand up and the haters thing, and maybe that goes away next season. Maybe he comes up with something better. Maybe he just drops catchphrases altogether. Maybe he was told that Hawk was the most beloved guy in Chicago sports history, and all Hawk had was 32 catchphrases that he used way too much. And I know everybody loves Hawk, but you know what? I got tired of hearing the same 7 stories about Carl Yastrzemski over and over and over again, like they were butt buddies, and after hearing Carl Yastrzemski say, I didn't really even like the guy, I was like, okay, here we go. You know what I mean? But he had, Doug Snort and Can of Corn and Gassy Gone and all these things.
But that didn't all happen in his first year. I mean,
it did not. These were over years.
This was over decades.
Got played out too.
Yeah.
Sox fans ate it up. Fine. But not every announcer has to have 42 catchphrases.
Yeah, it's look, he might change all of that South Side.
Right.
He's trying stuff out. I think he has all the permission in the world to, evolve as a play-by-play guy. And if it didn't work and something else catches him, again, this team's not giving him much to go off of. And if he evaluates some things, as the season goes on into the offseason, we might get a different type of Schriffen, moving forward after the season. And that's okay.
Yeah. I just, the main thing that I'll take away from the whole John Schriffen thing is when something good happens, he's full of energy and excitement, and he's really trying to sell this exciting moment, right? And a lot of people call that cringe. Well, whatever. He's just trying to do his job. He's trying to solidify his place on the broadcast. There's so many other things to be upset about. Let him do his thing. Let him learn on the fly. It's not like this season is going to be a good one again. So why not? Would you rather have this now? A guy getting his feet wet in the broadcast booth today during this season? Or would you want to have that on a season where the White Sox are going deep into the playoffs?
Right.
And you get a cringeworthy Southside stand up in game 2 of the World Series after Andrew Vaughn walks it off.
Yeah.
Did I say that? I said that. Yes, I did. Sorry.
Clutch had, he talks about, why Steve Stone gets a pass. Honestly, I've compartmentalized Steve Stone from how he is on social media to what he is like in the booth. I think Steve Stone is very valuable in the booth, especially when it comes to some of the young arms that we're going to be seeing. I loved listening to him, when we had guys coming up, Dane Dunning, and, there's so many that, he was able to kind of give us an idea of, the length the pitcher had, the stamina, what a pitcher is working on when things aren't going right with a certain pitcher, a young pitcher, what they could be doing, overcompensating, what have you. I mean, I think Stone is valuable, especially from the pitching side. how he presents himself on social media is a completely different thing, and it's unfortunate. And I try to separate those, though.
Yeah, that might be the understatement of the year here on Future Sox is the difference, the two faces of Mr. Steve Stone. But again, I mean, the guy is so knowledgeable on baseball. There are times it seems like he's got a crystal ball in front of him when he's like, hey Steve, it's 2-2, and these last two pitches we're here. What's coming next? And it's like, I'll tell you this pitch, and then he's going to throw it here, probably going to foul it off, and then he's going to throw the next pitch here, and it's going to be a splitter, and it's almost like verbatim, like there's a script. Yeah. So Steve has been around the game for a long, long time, and he's super smart, and he's got many, many years on John. So I don't think Steve Stone was this good when he first came up either.
Yeah. Well,
Twitter's a whole nother issue.
Oh, let's end it right there. Sox have more with Tampa, and then they come home. Cleveland comes to town. Mother's Day weekend. You got a big Saturday game that I think it's that Zip Up, and the Bums are having a tailgate. May 11th, I believe it is. Schriffen wants to get out to that tailgate. He was there for opening day, which again, good on him. Boots on the ground.
Got to shake hands with him. He was a nice guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was great of him. Go meet the fans, check out the traditions of tailgating on opening day, and people do it. And the Bums do it really well, and they're going to have food and drink, and maybe Schriffen's going to stop by. Hopefully, good weather. I think that quarter zip is the giveaway too. It's a nice one. That's the 87 to 1990 logo. Hopefully Last Comiskey, those folks are going to be getting their hands on one of those, because that's sharp. But Cleveland this weekend, and then we'll see what happens. But hey, man, we started off, I don't know what to talk about, but here we are, well over an hour. Always a treat, man, talking Sox with you, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys are going to get out to that tailgate, enjoy yourselves, like Nick says. It's a good one. I mean, all the things that he mentioned, plus they've got their own personal chef that comes out and really chefs up. Chef Ruddy's out there doing his thing. I have been invited to join them. Unfortunately, I'll be in Michigan racing, but their next tailgate that I'm available for, I will be out there with Dougie Freshness. We'll be doing some cigars, I didn't have any cigars available right now. They're all in the humidor maturing at the moment, so I didn't have anything for tonight. But I'll be out there with Dougie Freshness and those guys and one of their later tailgates. So they're awesome. It's a great time. Yeah. I had a chance to stop by their opening day, and again, John was out there, and he'll probably be out there again. I see Drew Bogues is going to be out there as well with his wife. So you guys enjoy that and enjoy your giveaway, and keep me in mind while I'm on the racetrack. Okay.
Really appreciate everybody jumping in. Appreciate the conversations. Hopefully these, continue with other Sox fans in your life. Pass this podcast along, FutureSox.net. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. He's Danny Miller at Danny Miller FS. I am Nick Murawski at Nick _GGTB. Hey, until next time, go Sox.